Trump 2024, baby. Yeah.
I'm gonna come.
Hey, I like RFK Jr. even if he's got a worm in his head.
I did that and I forgot about YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Pull it.
Pull it.
What is that one?
I am the pull-out king.
Yeah, nice.
Works.
This is why we're the #1 comedy business podcast in the world.
Because of
Eric!
Yeah.
I'm on fire.
iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. We on that beat. This episode's sponsored by Zupyak, ZUPYAK.com. That's Zupyak, ZUPYAK.com. It's the first search optimized AI writer, and it's on the market where search data is integrated into the AI writer workflow. No knowledge needed about SEO to create content.
You sure about that?
It'll have a better search impact in seconds, not hours. If you go to Zupyak, ZUPYAK.com, promo code SWEAT, get the hookup. Holler if you hear me. Holler if you hear me.
I've told you, you don't get to point at the thing and make me push
I'm
the
going to make
button.
another soundboard.
I'm the one. You better not.
I'm going to do
I
it,
will
dude.
cut that wire with scissors.
No. If you our other sponsors, if you hit the links in the episode description, Squarespace, CallRail, LinkedIn Premium, and Bloom Invoicing, you get other hookups. Holler if you hear those.
No. Quit pointing at the screen. I'm going to break that finger
It's a
off.
good visual for the audio
break
people.
that finger right off.
Let's get this party started. We're going.
Startled.
We're going to
sure
communist
about that?
Poland.
You sure about that?
Hotty toddy.
Called sweat equity.
That's whatever.
You are listening to the Sweat Equity Podcast.
We're recording.
Yeah,
We're firing.
We're good to go.
All right. We like to ask everybody that comes on the show some lightning round questions. So just real quick, you don't have to get into it, and then we'll end on a bigger question of the lightning round. First one is, did you listen to the podcast before coming on the show?
Yes, today.
Oh,
Interesting.
wow. We got about a 30% hit rate on that. You got
It's
one?
climbing, actually. Has anybody ever called you Sticky Stowicky?
No, not really.
Okay, that was it.
Does God
I
exist?
didn't come up with a lightning round question, all right? I'm being honest.
Okay. Does God exist?
Quite the swing.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Karaoke. I never sang karaoke, so I'm drawing blank here.
It's okay.
Okay. Doesn't like karaoke.
It's all right.
Not a fan of that. I think most people aren't. What's your spirit animal?
I don't know why wolf just popped into my mind. I have no clue why.
That's what it is
Never
then.
check that.
That's what it is. That's what popped into your head? I mean,
Yes, sir.
You don't want to
I'm
do
not in kindergarten. I don't have to get my turn in.
I don't know. Just go back and
It's
forth
just
a little
so far
while.
away I can't read it.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
I hate that one, though. See, you were going to make me ask that?
The internet is aflame with this question, so
No, it's a resounding no.
I agree. I don't even understand why that's a question.
because it is a sandwich.
Is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes. It's got two buns, baby.
It's like its own thing. Everybody knows that.
Fuck, marry, kill, tacos, pizza, cheeseburger.
Gross, dude.
Which ones?
What was
You never played that game?
Skip it. I think you should skip that one.
Okay,
That's
okay.
fair. It's just gross.
there is some American culture I don't have background in.
That's not American culture. That's just law being weird about having sex with food.
Whatever. I loved American Pie. It came out in 1998 and set in me.
And pie wasn't even on the list.
I would never do that to Pie.
Oh,
What? First time you French kissed a girl? Does that translate?
Translate to what?
I mean, is that? When's the first time you kissed a girl, or a guy, or anybody?
long time ago.
Okay. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where to find you, all that kind of stuff, because I could do it, but I can't read out loud very well. So we let the guests do it, their own plug. Why don't you tell our audience all that stuff?
Okay, now I'm surprised once again, but I will do that.
Yeah.
I'm author, so I have 19 books on Amazon and everywhere else. Just type Michał Stawicki and books, and you will find my books. I have my own personal development blog, expandbeyondyourself.com. And I'm also a business owner. I have my own book advertising agency, resurrectingbooks.com.
Wow. All right. You're a busy guy. 85,000 copies of over 19 books sold. Is that's a stat I remember. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a correct stat now. It's over 90,000.
Okay. All right. Well, we have an esteemed author. We've toyed around with taking this podcast and making it into a book just so we can tell everybody we're an author.
Yeah, we got to do that.
But the one question we do really want to ask, not a lightning round question, you can take your time with this, is what advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
13-year-old, I was so clueless, like a true kiddo. And what? It's really advice when you give advice to yourself. Yeah, it's like Alex Hormozy likes to talk about. It's
that guy stole her question.
First of all, it's you know the guy you are talking to, yeah, intimately.
The scenario is you time travel. Yeah. It doesn't. It only affects you. You are time traveling in a Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, he gets it.
Okay, I thought he was asking. Oh, I thought you were asking.
No, he was explaining.
No.
He's got.
I'm sorry.
He's obviously thought about it.
I'm so
he's
sorry.
going to his thing, and then you just go, hey, let me explain the question that you already understand. Let me just do that for you. Sorry. Please continue.
I will. It's hilarious with guys. With you guys. So having this intimate knowledge about myself and my 30-year-old self, I would just tell the guy, don't sweat it. Come on. It's all gonna be fine. You are measuring up yourself to like the whole world. Stop doing that. You just need to be the best version of yourself. That's it. Nothing else.
Were you an anxious, nervous kind of guy growing up?
Yes, sir. Till 33, till I started my own transformation, I was terribly shy. Like, actually, one of my first projects was to just overcoming the shyness. So I can talk to people like you now in the international podcast, but I couldn't approach a stranger and utter a word. Like I had rats in my stomach. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's an underrated skill, especially like public speaking. You know, that's something that I mean, they say it's the biggest fear for people.
Yeah, it's Seinfeld used to have a joke about it.
Right, you'd rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy.
Yep, you got to do it in his voice though.
You'd rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy.
Ooh, Pop-Tarts. So, where did you grow up? What were your parents entrepreneurial?
I'll ask it. What is your accent? It's driving me crazy. I can't quite nail it. I mean, it's something Eastern European.
Wherever Jokic's from.
Eastern Europe somewhere, maybe further east. I'm not sure. So please share that.
Polish.
Okay, there you go. Nailed it. Kind of. Your last name is Stawicki, so you know.
Any good Polish jokes? Those used to be around a lot more.
Yeah, they got away from it.
Not from me. We have Polish, Russian, German jokes when, of course, Polish comes as superior. Yeah,
right.
And it's because of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Going back to your question, I was raised in communist Poland, till I was 10 years old. I lived in the communist regime, and then we had overnight change of
Yeah.
everything. So my parents weren't especially entrepreneur, but kind of the whole nation uh, needed to be to just survive this shift. So my father, he had a solopreneur business of installing electricity in new buildings, fixing. He is electrical engineer, very highly skilled. Like his day job was in the factory as a main engineer, yeah, for all electricity, and he was doing this side gig after 8 hours of
Wow.
working in a factory. Yeah.
Yeah. Communist factory too. Those they don't mess around.
There's no benefits.
Communist factories they're rough.
Ain't no ping pong table in a communist factory.
Yeah. No break room.
no sleeping
break
pods.
room. You don't get a break. What are you talking about break room?
No K cups, Keurigs.
So wait, how was that transition? I want to hear about that. What did your parents do before the fall of the wall or whatever?
Yeah, so
So we're talking like 89, right? Was the fall?
89, exactly. I have 5 sisters. So my mother was a housewife, and my father, he worked in that factory as an engineer, electrical engineer, and that was the reality before 90, sorry, 89, sorry. And then everything, like we have crazy inflation in the like 50%, something like that. Like the money was worthless the next month. And this is what I remember. Yeah, it was a struggle, and like everybody in our town felt like that because it was like plenty of Polish towns back then around a few factories, which now we're struggling to survive through this change. Yeah, will they even found demand for whatever they offer? And it was like the whole country, so it was the time of feeling unsecure, and out of that, really, a lot of hustle culture came. Like my father, who worked his full shift and then he went back home. Like he worked from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then he went back home, eat a lunch, get a short nap, and he was off to his side gig, working till 8 p.m. maybe. Yeah, this is my my remembering the childhood days. Father was absent because he was at work all the time. When I was like 13, he actually started taking me to side jobs, and I was helping him like slave labor.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had
Free.
the work ethic that is incredible. I mean, all it does is remind me how good we have it. You know, kind of where we're born, that you can't. It's random. You know, and then I try to think of those things. Like I'll probably think of this story anytime I'm bitching about having to do a lot of work.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
We don't have to get a wheelbarrow to buy, a bottle of water for, fill it with cash.
Yeah.
Where it's like a 1,000,000,000% increase.
And then no one talks about the transition that's night and day. Because
I have so many questions.
You think you would ease into that, right? That would make sense.
No way.
And I guarantee there was probably a lot of people in your town
that's
that hated.
Taken. It's got, but like, so in communist countries, they own
car
everything.
drives you.
But like, how did it work with like the factory your dad worked in? Who owned that afterward? Like, how did they decide who got what? Because I mean, was it just like first guy to the boss's chair wins it? How did that work?
Yeah, it was like fire sale, which now from the perspective of time, we think that was stupid of us, Polish government. Yeah, we just sold everything left and right for pennies, and like really pennies. Now just the sites are worth more than the prices 30 years ago, yeah, and like in the centrum of a big city. One thing.
Yeah, how do
Yeah,
you
and
how do you assign everybody to go like now you own this or
Well,
now
it's-
you manage this?
Right? Well,
Like,
it's just crazy because like you didn't have it to like yeah, it feels like a stupid decision, but did you have a choice? Like you had to bring in like outside money to make it happen, but like man, that's crazy to even think about. So was it like big corporations coming in, scooping stuff
yes,
up?
yeah, because everything's liquidated.
It was crazy. It was crazy. They say they had a plan, but nobody had a plan. And what I really think worked and saved us was that there was no regulations. We started from scratch. So there were a lot of shoddy businesses done, meaning, like big corpos doing businesses with former communist people who had contacts and could sell them this factory, that business, and so on. But also, it allowed us, Polish people, to do our stuff. Some, fortunes were created in early 90s because people, they were entrepreneurial. Like, I don't know how we got it.
Yeah, I mean,
no, they capitalized
yeah,
on
there was no red tape. There was no, hey,
Exactly,
you can't do this because
exactly.
you don't have a license from the government. What government?
Amen.
I'm doing whatever I want, bro.
it. They were
And people are buying
opportunistic.
it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's cool.
I think about I kind of always visualize the bread line when I hear communism. What happens with that? Did y'all have a stipend of food? I talk to my Cuban friends and they talk about, I always say they can do more things with a pig, than anybody because they had to make all their rations kind of last as long as they could, and that's why Cuban food's maybe the best. One of my favorites, but like they know how to do so much with so little, and because they were only given a X amount of eggs per week, an X amount of whatever. Was that a situation as well? Like basic human needs that were provided by the government, and then one day or week or month, it was just like buy, and you had to kind of figure it out on your own. Was it like that?
No, it wasn't, at least in Poland, never provided by government. When we had to stay in lines for like meat, it was because of inefficiencies of the communist system. But we Polish were very lucky because somehow we got away with having plenty of small farmers, like really, really small. And people who went to factory, but they have their own several acres or 20 and they work on that land. So when the free market was introduced, they could sell locally. And so it was never shortage of food, sometimes of processed food. Like I remember lines for sugar. Like there was no sugar because it wasn't processed
Interesting.
probably or distributed and
Yeah, stuff that
some
needs
other things,
infrastructure.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
not grown right out of the ground.
But like you can always go to local market, buy eggs, vegetables, and so on.
Yeah, I think we're asking a lot of basic questions because we've never read a book about that transition. I don't know all the books you've read, but I know you haven't read one about that.
You're right, but
And so we're kind of
this
curious on
is
that
his
transition.
personal
I know.
thing. So like
We're gonna get to how this dovetails into what he's
we are
doing
total
now.
experts on the fall of the Soviet Union, but
Well,
not on his story.
I always think entrepreneurship, entrepreneur. It's a French word, but it feels so American because we don't have. If you do want to do something, you can do it for the most part. We have regulations on things like other countries, but not as tight as other countries. And it's one of those things where we think about capitalism, there's hate on capitalism. I love capitalism, but it's one of those things that we think it's like when you introduce democracy in places that have a dictator, right? And you're like, this is good for them. They need this. They don't know they need it, but they need it. And then there's that transition period, and you're like, ooh, this was bad.
Bring back the old guy.
We did this too quickly. We need to do
Amen.
this over.
You
Yeah.
know, kept the trains on
So
time at least.
you never hear about that transition part from the point of view of someone in it or was in it. And then when you're talking about you had 5 sisters, I was thinking about farmland and how back in the day you would have a bunch of kids so they could run the farm.
Yeah, labor.
Was there a lot of people that would just own land for centuries or something, like, and parcel it out to their kids and then their kids kind of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting. So you all were becoming more commercialized in like one instant almost, it felt like.
Yeah, that was.
And we're
they
talking
called it
80s too.
The shock therapy, and seriously, there was a deep shock in the whole nation, and shock was not just capitalism; it was also freedom. Like from overnight, you can say things about the government. Before that,
it's another big one.
good luck. Yeah.
We forget about that one.
Didn't end well.
So, like, what was the worst thing you saw come of it? You personally?
Of the transition?
Me
Yeah,
personally,
just of this happening.
There's got to be a lot of people that hated it, right?
Exactly, because unemployment rate skyrocketed. It was about 30%. When I was getting into the job market in 2004, it was 19%.
Whew, that's still high.
Yeah, and so that generation, my parents' generation and my generation, we were used to scarcity, and in a the wrong way. It's so hard for us to imagine abundance because we were raised in this situation. So yeah, personally, I think that's the worst thing because it happened across the nation. Yeah, it happened to all of us. Yes, we are hard workers, but also we are overly loyal to employees, for example, because your job security is so important, which I experienced in 2009. Okay, yeah, you can do what you can do, but if your employer doesn't provide projects,
And
that's it. Yeah.
where are you living now? How do I want to try to get to how you got to where you are now from about 2004. Where are you doing this from?
Here you see my home office. It's in Poland, near capital, just 25 miles away.
So you've been have you been living there the entire most of your life, or?
Yes, by the way, I'm the only one from my family
Wow.
who is still in Poland. My 5 sisters emigrated, my parents emigrated, which was also a part of landscape when it comes in this years. Since 2004 when we joined European Union and we could move to other countries and work there, like plenty of people emigrated.
Yeah, that would be a big one, getting in the UN. And y'all got on the euro at some point. I don't remember when, but that's a big
Not
deal.
yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Oh, still our currency, yeah. But when we joined, we said one day we will move to euro, and we just never said when exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a very complicated situation to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Switch over everybody's money.
well, yeah, that's
I don't know you. Same time.
that can be a lot of the trouble of trying to work with your neighboring countries as import export
Especially
is
when
like,
they're all European dicks.
well, there's that. Yeah, who are your Mexicans? Who do you make fun of?
What? I didn't say that. I didn't say anything about Mexicans. I
Yeah.
said about European.
It's not
assholes.
even my question. I borrowed that from someone.
Seriously,
Everyone has their own Mexicans.
We don't because we were made fun of, yeah. So
Right.
now we have Ukrainians.
Come
and
on.
don't
There's
make
there's
jokes
always
of-
someone you
of
got to make
that.
fun of that's next door.
You did mention that you had German and Russian jokes earlier, so if you could hit
Okay,
us with
yeah.
one of those.
I mean,
that'd
you
be
can make fun of
It's
Germans for
different
really
situation.
fucking up. They really screwed the pooch
Well,
there.
Germany and Russia, that's a different situation. Those guys.
Yeah.
But you can't make fun of them for too long because then that anger will probably pop out. You know,
What,
they're
the
like,
Germans
haha,
and the
yeah,
Russians?
we really fucked up. World War II, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, that's enough. And then it's like, it's enough. You ever have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Going back to my transition, I
Yes,
stayed
please,
in Poland
Yeah,
because
you host the show.
Thank you. I worked in IT. Yeah, I finished college. I got IT job, and in Poland it was like at the beginning I got 2 average salaries, so I could afford to live. I could afford to raise my family. I have 3 kids. We started early. We got married when I was in college. And I was moving from one job to another. In 2013, I was working in big media company, the biggest, like one of the fortunes made during the transition was this company. Actually, it's the biggest Polish media company, Polsat, and I was miserable as a corporate cog, and I just didn't see my future in there, and I was so dissatisfied with my life, which was okay on all fronts. Like I had family, good job, but when I was in that life, so I could easily look under this, social media shiny surface. I was overweight. My health wasn't that great. I was shy as hell. Like I had some relationships, but I never started a new one. I was too shy for that, and I just felt, well, there is something more to life, to my place in life. And it was Providence. In 2013, I was on vacation in Ireland, visiting my parents, and also my sister, who traveled the world because she's a dancer. She was there on her vacation, and she had a book, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And the book is around the message of Jim Rohn. Success is a few simple disciplines repeated over time. And for me, that was, whoa. I thought success is something grand. Golden medal at Olympics, starting new Microsoft. And of course, I couldn't do those things, so I will not be as successful. Never. Thank you, goodbye. But small, simple things, it really opened my mind. And since then, I started, I tripled down on my personal development and rediscovered my desire to write. And 8 months later, I published my first book on Amazon.
That's a pretty
That's
great
awesome.
story.
That's awesome.
This podcast is
I
really
feel that all day. Yeah, man.
It's really for an audience of people that have that nexus point where they're sitting in a job they hate, they're frustrated, it's taking a toll on their mental and physical health a lot of the time, and you get that frustration point, and there is a part of the timeline where you stay there and you're just kind of miserable your whole life, and you go, "This is safe. I can do this."
Right. Until it's too much.
Or so for you, it sounded like you may have been unaware of some of this self-help, self-development kind of whole genre out there to even go like, oh, I'm going to read that book. And then that book kind of leverages or you capitalize on that.
Well, it just shows like sometimes things just have to be said to you in a certain way that your brain clicks in with it.
But also,
he was thinking, well, I can't do these things, so like I'm not gonna be a real success.
But I'm thinking of the hangover of communism too. There's not probably a lot of self-starters. There's not a lot of people that are thinking in that direction around you, probably, right? You're working at a good media company. Maybe there's movers and shakers there, but it's really easy when when a lot of people aren't feeling that kind of mode or self-development for themselves kind of thing. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, to me, he had the desire to do something with his life, but in his mind, it was a technicality sort of thing where it's like, well, I'm in a post-communist country, whatever, and I'm not going to be able to really reach these heights because of administrative issues.
I think it's very common. It's just human thing. It was just
Right.
my self-worth. Yeah, I couldn't believe in myself. Seriously, the biggest struggle for me was the first month since reading the book. I was mulling over this, like, can it be so simple? Can I do it? Like, I had to give myself permission to try. And that was the hardest thing I did in my life. Like, then when I started my transformation, I was working full time, commuting 2-3 hours a day, writing on trains and back, sleeping 5 hours a day. I remember publishing my sixth book. Like, I stayed till 2 a.m. to finally hit the publish button, and I woke up at 4 a.m. to go to my day job. That was easy. Giving myself permission to try it, that was the hardest thing in my life.
So if anybody's listening out there, there's two parts to that, right? You have to allow yourself to do it and not be defeatist in your own kind of idea of doing it. Then here's where I think a lot of Americans really kind of miss this, is you actually have to try it. You actually have to try the discipline thing you just read.
Yeah.
A lot of people might know it or even read about it, give themselves permission. They won't make themselves their own guinea pig for whatever reason that is. And that's the frustration point I have talking to friends sometimes. It's like, well, if this is bothering you over months, years of this
it must
part,
not be that bad.
Well, no.
Is what I think.
Oh, no.
It's like it must not be that bad on you if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're not changing it. You just like talking about it.
Well, it's like your friend that asks for advice and they're going to do whatever they do anyway.
Right.
And I have a friend that has done that since high school. And it's like, now I just go, you're going to do what you want to do anyway, but I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah.
Just so I get it off my chest
Yeah.
For you. But it's that thing of like, no one does the guinea pig part. You go, okay, hypothesis. Do these small discipline things really work to alter my life in a positive direction? And you actually did it. Now, a lot of people overthink about it. They already think about the failure part first, or they don't think about, they don't dangle their own carrot on like, I need to shake something up at the very least, would be a net positive.
Well, lots of people I think are like, I can't take another loss. I can't start something new and then
because it's gonna
fail
take back.
again.
Yeah, they don't think about
like, oh man, that's gonna be terrible for me.
A lot of people think like it's gonna supplant what they're doing currently, and that'll go down if they try this other thing.
Right.
Not on top of what they're doing.
Well, yeah, it's just more like how much worse can it get, and they expect things to get worse. And with that mentality,
it spirals.
You're spiraling yourself into doing nothing, and which in turn, long term, makes it even worse.
So I want to ask this part before we depart, but you have a wildly interesting story and kind of really a lot of the reason we have the show. So, kudos to you on your life.
Yes. And your accent. I'm going to rewatch this one to learn your accent.
And
I can't do Polish. I didn't even really think about it, but now I have to.
So you said you were very shy. I think it's hard to be entrepreneurial unless you're just unless you have an app programmer kind of thing, something that you can do by yourself without having to talk to any humans. But you said your crippling shyness was, a problem, but you did get married and got laid at least 3 times by my count. How did you get your wife? I want to see that, and I bet it's related to how you overcame the shyness. I bet you extrapolated that out. That's my theory.
You missed.
Damn it.
Like by a mile.
I'm a mentalist, dude.
She wasn't shy.
I can't do mentalist stuff on Polish people.
-10. Oh, that's
So
what it is.
she wasn't shy. She asked me. That's how we started.
She asked you out.
Yeah, exactly. And
Communist country. One
like
asks
that.
you.
I like an alpha lady like that, though.
It's all
no, yeah,
reversed.
it's just a very shy guy. That's how you need to catch him.
So,
By the way, girls, IT guys, the best prey for you. Come on, they will not do anything, and they earn so much. What are you waiting for?
yeah, is that your stand-up set?
Oh, who's that? Is that for us?
He's the difference between men and women. Yeah, I have a.
I think he's
we've-
just like looking out for IT guys in general. I mean, you probably could use it.
Yeah, but
You know,
so
it's like-
how was your wife the reason you were able to get over your shyness later? Is she the one that pushes you? I feel like there's always a woman involved in something like that.
No.
Yeah, it's it's kind of because
Half
part of my this desire to change was she was nagging me. Okay, you're more.
Oh,
Like,
man.
we cannot afford this.
Nag
We cannot
you
afford
into-
that.
The other that's the other N word women don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Naggers.
So because like you said, out of my own comfort, I wouldn't maybe start, but I was a bit pushed out of my comfort zone. She wanted more from her life. So that's one thing. At actual way, I overcame my shyness. Small steps, very, very small steps. Like I deconstructed what is this whole process of approaching a person and starting conversation, and I realized that I was so shy. I didn't really try to notice other people, like this person who just looked into the ground, and like I technically saw them, but like you see a homeless person, yeah, you pretend you don't see them. So that was me my whole life, not just homeless, everybody.
Yeah.
So my first small discipline was, okay, let's start noticing people around me, recognizing them, start thinking about how I could approach and start a conversation. I figured out I could do that with a compliment. And also I was conducting those conversations in my head because I was just too shy to start. I was too fearful. And then my next discipline was making eye connection, smiling, and I tracked those things. Like I was very nerdy about those.
I was gonna say this
Yeah.
sounds like a very Eastern European reverse engineering mentality to take.
Yeah.
It was just because when I had this first moment of setting goals, okay, I will overcome my shyness. So how I will do it? By speaking to strangers, because I know that just scared the shit of me. But then I tried and I couldn't. I was too scared. I just couldn't. I was physically unable to. Then I had to deconstruct it to so small pieces that I finally could do something. I could, by myself, notice other people around me. I could have a conversation in my head. I could look at people and then smile at them. And finally, I could start a conversation. The whole process took surprisingly short, like I would say half a year, and I was able to confidently speak with people, strike a conversation with anybody at any time.
Yeah. Marginal gains.
Yeah, it's just so crazy that power your brain can have over you. Because I mean, it was probably quick because you got to a point where you're like, "Oh, what was I afraid of? What was I that everybody's gonna pull out a gun and shoot me? What was gonna happen?" You know, and it's like, but before that happens, that shit is so real. That fear that people, you know, and it's just like you can tell people say a lot of things, but until they do it for themselves, it's just overwhelming. Obviously,
Everything you said made me feel like when I take too much edibles, and then I don't know how to talk to people if
Right.
I have to.
well, you gotta stop
It's
stop
too
going
much.
to public.
Yeah, I gotta stop doing that. But sometimes you didn't know it was a higher milligram.
I know, but
You know.
I've been trying to coach you up on this.
I know.
for so
You
long.
have been a
You
good
don't
coach. I
even
just
listen to
don't-
Coach Red.
I've got raw talent, but I don't listen
I
sometimes.
know, you're very uncoachable.
No, I'm coachable. I just got, sometimes I got to drive to the hole. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you fail. Like, I get a lot of, like, how do you go on stage and not freak out? And it's like, oh, I failed a lot.
Oh, you just got to stop giving a shit.
And over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times of doing it, you don't care. I'm going to go do a set tonight. I don't know what I'm talking about yet, but I'm not worried about it at all. 15 years ago, I'd be like, fuck. It'll be in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
So, well, you have an interesting story. I hope people go find your books. You have an ebook out that you're promoting. Is that correct?
For your audience, I have something it's not available on the internet by itself. You need to reach out to me, and it's a self-coaching mini course. So you can go over establishing a goal, finding what stops you, and then tracking your way to success on your own. Takes like 30 minutes. And all you need to do is to find me on LinkedIn and send me the message business24. I will send you back the way to register for that mini course, and that's what I have for.
Yeah, you're on X, or
solopreneurs.
Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Send the DM business24 without spaces, and you'll get that hookup. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man.
You have an interesting life. More power to you. I hope you're still making the incremental gains.
Yeah, your voice will be ringing in my head for a minute here until I figure it out. So maybe I'll send you a voice message in your own voice.
That's not creepy at all. Hey, I've been working on your voice.
What did I just say? I don't give a shit.
That's so stalkerish.
It's like stand up.
Yep. All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
It was great.